A being with the combined powers of multiple species was preparing to turn every thinking mind in the galaxy into a puppet. The real war was just begin. The combined fleet that gathered at the edge of known space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. HFY bioships flew in formation with celestial crystal vessels, while coalition ships of every size and design filled the gaps between them. At the center of it all, the UES Harmony looked small and fragile, but Elena knew it was the most important ship in the fleet. Long-range sensors are picking up something, Sarah announced from her station. Massive energy readings about 3 light-years beyond the galactic rim. Elena looked at the tactical display showing their destination. The last known location of the UES Prometheus was now marked by a structure that defied explanation. It looked like a space station, but it was larger than most moons and appeared to be built from technology that combined elements from all 3 civilizations. Admiral Zephyron to Captain Vasquez, came the voice over the communication system. Our deep space sensors confirm the energy signatures. This structure is drawing power from nearby stars. General Clackth reporting, added another voice. Bioscans show millions of life forms on that station, but their consciousness patterns are wrong. They all think the same thoughts at the same time. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Captain Santos, what do your ships detect? Elena, this is terrifying. The structure is broadcasting some kind of signal toward the galaxy. If it reaches inhabited systems, it could affect the minds of everyone within range. Elena made her decision. All ships advance to investigation range but stay outside the broadcast zone. Sarah, can you analyze that signal? Sarah's fingers flew over her controls. It is the same consciousness translation technology we used on the Harmony, but amplified beyond anything I thought was possible. This signal could override the natural thought patterns of entire populations. On the main screen, the mysterious station grew larger as they approached. Elena could see that it was indeed built from a combination of technologies. HFY biostructures, celestial energy matrices, and coalition manufacturing techniques all merged together in ways that should have been impossible. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. Audio and visual. Put it through, Elena ordered. The screen showed a figure that made everyone on the bridge gasp. It looked human, but wrong. Its skin shifted between flesh and energy and chitinous plates. Its eyes were compound like a HFY's but glowed with celestial light. When it spoke, its voice echoed with the harmonies of 1,000 different species. Captain Elena Vasquez of the UES Harmony, the being said. I have been waiting for you. Elena stepped forward. Who are you? What happened to the crew of the Prometheus? The being smiled, and Elena saw features that reminded her of Captain James Morrison, who had commanded the Prometheus 50 years ago. I am what humanity was meant to become. I am evolution itself. Morrison, Elena whispered. What did you do to yourself? I did what no one else had the vision to do, the being replied. I found the ancient technologies left behind by the Forerunners, the first civilization to achieve galactic consciousness. They transcended physical existence billions of years ago, but they left their tools behind for those wise enough to use them. Behind Morrison's transformed form, Elena could see glimpses of the station's interior. Thousands of beings, from hundreds of species, stood in perfect formation, their eyes glowing with the same unnatural light. You are controlling them, Elena said, taking away their free will. Morrison's expression grew sad. I am freeing them from the chaos of individual thought. Do you know how much suffering is caused by misunderstanding? How many wars start because different species cannot truly communicate? I am solving that problem forever. General Clackth's voice came over the communication link. You are destroying what makes consciousness beautiful. The swarm shares thoughts, but each individual still chooses their own path. And look how well that has worked, Morrison replied. 200 years of war because you could not understand each other. I am offering perfect understanding. One mind, one will, one purpose. Admiral Zephyron's voice joined the conversation. Perfect understanding requires perfect freedom to choose. What you offer is slavery disguised as harmony. Morrison's form shifted, showing more of his alien modifications. You will understand when you join us. All of you will become part of something greater than yourselves. Elena felt the weight of the moment. This being had the power to control the minds of everyone in the galaxy. But she also remembered something important. Human beings had always found ways to overcome impossible odds through cooperation and understanding. Sarah, Elena whispered, is our consciousness translation technology still active? Yes, Captain. Why? Can you link everyone in our fleet the way we linked the 3 commanders? Sarah's eyes widened with understanding. Not everyone at once. The system was not designed for that scale. But maybe, if I use the combined computing power of all 3 fleets? Elena turned back to the screen where Morrison waited. You think you understand what consciousness should be, but you are wrong. True understanding does not come from forcing everyone to think the same thoughts. It comes from choosing to understand each other while remaining yourself. Morrison laughed, and the sound contained echoes of inhuman voices. Brave words, Captain. But you are about to see the truth. My broadcast signal will reach the first inhabited systems in 6 hours. Once I demonstrate the peace that comes from unified consciousness, every being in the galaxy will beg to join us. Sarah, Elena whispered urgently, how long do you need? 10 minutes to link our entire fleet. But Captain, this will be dangerous. We will be sharing the consciousness of thousands of different beings from hundreds of species. The human mind was not designed to handle that much input. Elena looked around the bridge at her crew. Every face showed the same determination. They understood what was at stake. Do it, Elena ordered. Link everyone. Sarah's fingers flew over her controls as she connected the Harmony's translation matrix to the combined computer networks of 3 civilizations. On screens throughout the fleet, beings of every type began to volunteer for the link. Morrison watched from his station with growing alarm. What are you doing? Something you never thought of, Elena replied. We are choosing to understand each other without losing ourselves. The translation matrix activated, and suddenly Elena could feel the thoughts and emotions of thousands of beings. The collective determination of the Kethvar swarm, the transcendent wisdom of the Celestial Federation, the stubborn hope of the Coalition refugees, and underneath it all, the human capacity to hold all these different perspectives without being overwhelmed by any of them. But instead of chaos, Elena felt harmony. Not the artificial harmony of identical thoughts, but the real harmony of different voices choosing to sing together. The combined consciousness of the fleet reached out toward Morrison's station, and for the first time in 50 years, the transformed captain felt something he had forgotten: free will, choosing cooperation instead of cooperation being forced. No, Morrison said, his voice breaking. This is impossible. Unity requires uniformity. You cannot have peace without control. Yes, you can, Elena said, her voice now carrying the harmonized thoughts of 3 civilizations. You can have unity through diversity. You can have peace through understanding. And you can have understanding without slavery. The consciousness link spread beyond the fleet, reaching toward Morrison's station. The thousands of controlled beings there began to stir as they felt the touch of truly free minds choosing to connect. Morrison tried to strengthen his control, pouring more power into his broadcasting system. But the signal from the combined fleet was not about overpowering his technology. It was about offering a choice. One by one, the beings on Morrison's station began to break free from his control. They remembered what it felt like to think their own thoughts while still being part of something larger. You are destroying everything I worked for, Morrison said desperately. No, Elena replied gently. We are showing you what you could have had all along. Join us willingly, James. Let us help you remember what it means to be human while also being part of the galactic community. For a moment, Morrison's transformed features showed traces of the man he had once been. Elena could see the loneliness and pain that had driven him to seek control over others. I just wanted to end the suffering, Morrison whispered. So do we. Elena said. But ending suffering does not mean ending choice. It means helping people make better choices. The consciousness link reached Morrison himself, offering him the same thing it offered everyone else. The chance to be part of a freely chosen community instead of a controlled collective. Morrison closed his eyes and let go of his artificial modifications. His form began to shift back toward human as he accepted the link and felt, for the first time in 50 years, the warmth of voluntary connection with other minds. As his control system shut down, the massive broadcasting station began to transform. Instead of a tool for domination, it became a beacon of communication. The first truly universal translation network that would allow every species in the galaxy to understand each other while remaining themselves. Dr. Sarah Chen had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the data flowing across her screens. Around her, the linguistics lab buzzed with activity. 23 experts from different species worked together, trying to solve a puzzle that could save or doom the galaxy. Any luck with the black box data? Elena asked, entering the lab with 2 cups of coffee. Sarah accepted the coffee gratefully. Some. The recording device from the destroyed peace ship survived, but it is badly damaged. We can only recover fragments of what happened in the last few minutes. Elena looked at the screen showing wave patterns and symbols that meant nothing to her. What do the fragments tell us? That is the problem, Sarah said, rubbing her tired eyes. Each species uses completely different ways to record information. The HFY use biochemical markers that change over time. The Celestials store data as energy patterns in higher dimensions. The Coalition uses traditional electronic systems like ours. So we have 3 different recordings of the same event? Yes, but they do not match. The HFY data shows a massive energy surge from outside the ship. The Celestial data shows reality being torn apart from inside. The Coalition data shows a series of small explosions building up to one big one. Elena frowned. 3 different versions of the truth. Which one is right? Sarah pointed to a young Zephyrian researcher working at a nearby station. Zeftar was one of the few Celestials who worked with physical matter. His energy form was contained in a special suit that let him interact with solid objects. Zeftar has been helping me understand the Celestial data. He says energy beings experience time differently than we do. For them, cause and effect can happen in any order. Elena walked over to Zeftar's station. The Celestial's light patterns were dim with concentration. Any progress? She asked. Zeftar's voice came through his suit's speakers, sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The data is confusing. My people's sensors show the ship being destroyed from within, but not by any weapon we recognize. It is as if reality itself rejected the ship's existence. Could one of your people have done this? Elena asked carefully. Zeftar's light patterns flashed with what Elena had learned was the celestial equivalent of shaking his head. No, this required a deep understanding of matter-based physics. My people view physical matter as crude and temporary. We would not know how to manipulate it so precisely. Across the lab, Dr. Krichtal worked on the HFY data. The insectoid researcher was one of the few HFY who could function independently of the hive mind. Her specialized brain modifications let her think individual thoughts while still feeling the connection to her people. Dr. Krichtal, Elena called. What do your people's sensors show? Krichtal's mandibles clicked in frustration. The biochemical markers indicate massive trauma to the ship's organic components, but the pattern is wrong. It shows damage that happened over several hours, not in one moment. Hours? Sarah looked up from her own work. But all the other evidence shows the ship was destroyed instantly. That is why it makes no sense, Krichtal said, unless... She paused, her compound eyes reflecting the lab's lights. Unless the ship was already dying when it exploded. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, already dying? The biochemical markers show signs of slow poisoning. Something was killing the ship's organic systems gradually. The explosion might have been the final result, not the cause. Sarah stood up suddenly, nearly spilling her coffee. Wait. Zeftar, you said the celestial data shows reality being torn from inside. Krichtal, Your data shows slow poisoning. What if they are both right? Elena looked between the two researchers. I do not understand. Sarah's fingers flew over her keyboard, bringing up a three-dimensional display of the destroyed ship. What if someone planted something on the ship that would react differently to each species' technology? Something that would poison Kethvar biosystems, disrupt celestial energy patterns, and explode coalition electronics? But who would have such technology? Zeftar asked. No single species understands all three types of science well enough to create such a weapon. Elena felt the answer forming in her mind, but she did not want to believe it. What about humans? We have been studying all three technologies for decades. We might be the only species that understands how they all work. The lab fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Elena. The implications were horrible to consider. If humans had destroyed the peace ship, then the Harmony's mission was not just hopeless. It was a lie. Captain, Sarah said quietly, there is something else. I found traces of human technology in all three data recordings, specifically, translation algorithms from our universal communication system. Elena's hands began to shake. Our technology was used in the attack? It looks that way. But Captain, this does not mean we did it. Our translation systems are used throughout the galaxy. Anyone could have gotten access to them. Dr. Chen brought up another display showing communication logs from the past month. I tracked the translation algorithms. They came from a human merchant ship called the Golden Fortune. It was at the peace meeting location just 2 days before the explosion. Where is this ship now? Elena asked. Gone. It left the system immediately after the peace ship was destroyed. But Captain, I found something else. The Golden Fortune is not listed in any official human fleet records. It might be a pirate ship, or worse, a ship working for someone who wants this war to continue. Elena understood now. Someone had used human technology to destroy the peace talks and make all three sides blame each other. The question was who and why. Commander Torres to Captain Vasquez came the voice over the intercom. Please report to the bridge immediately. We have a situation. Elena hurried to the bridge, her mind racing. The main screen showed all three fleets, but they had moved closer together. The weapons charges were building to dangerous levels. Captain, Torres said, we have been monitoring communications between the fleets. They are losing patience. General Klackth says if we do not provide answers in 12 hours, the Kethvar will attack. Admiral Zephyron is talking about cleansing the entire system. Captain Santos sent a private message saying some coalition captains want to shoot first before the others can attack. Elena looked at the tactical display. 3 massive fleets, ready to destroy each other and anything else in the system, including the Harmony. Captain, Sarah said, entering the bridge, I have been thinking about what we found. If someone used our technology to start this fight, maybe we can use it to stop the fight too. How? Our universal translation system does more than just convert languages. It can also translate concepts, emotions, and even sensory experiences. What if we used it to let each species actually experience what the others are thinking and feeling? Elena stared at Sarah. You want to link their minds? Not exactly. More like, let them walk in each other's shoes. The Kethvar think the others are selfish individuals who do not care about their collective survival. The Celestials think the others are primitive beings stuck in crude matter. The Coalition thinks the others are powerful bullies who want to destroy them for fun. And you think if they understood each other better they would stop fighting? Sarah nodded. The translation matrix I have been working on can create virtual reality simulations based on each species' sensory and emotional patterns. A Kethvar could experience individual consciousness for the first time. A Celestial could feel what it is like to have a physical body. A Coalition member could understand what it feels like to be part of something larger than themselves. Elena considered the idea. It was crazy, but so was everything else about this situation. How long would it take to set up? 6 hours if everyone in the linguistics department helps. But Captain, there is a problem. Each species would have to volunteer. We cannot force them to participate. Elena looked at the 3 fleets on the screen. In 12 hours, they would start the biggest battle in galactic history. Unless she could convince 3 suspicious, angry commanders to try something that had never been done before. Open channels to all 3 fleet commanders, Elena ordered. The screen split to show General Clack, Admiral Zephyron, and Captain Santos. All 3 looked even more angry than before. "Your time is running out, human," General Clack said. "Have you found proof of who destroyed our diplomats?" "We have found something," Elena said. "But it is not what any of you expected. The ship was destroyed using human technology, but not by official human forces. Someone used our translation systems to create a weapon that would affect all 3 of your species differently." Admiral Zephyron's light patterns swirled with confusion. "You are saying humans destroyed the peace ship?" "I am saying someone who understood human technology did it. But more importantly, I think I know why. Someone wants you to keep fighting each other." Captain Santos leaned forward. "Who? Who benefits from this war?" "I do not know yet. But I have a way to find out. I want to invite representatives from each of your fleets to participate in something new, a way to actually understand what each other is thinking and feeling." The 3 commanders looked skeptical. Elena continued quickly. "What if the reason you cannot make peace is because you do not really understand each other? What if your enemies are not as evil as you think? What if this whole war is based on misunderstandings that—" The cargo bay of the Harmony had been transformed into something that had never existed before in the galaxy. 3 separate chambers stood in the center of the large room, each one designed for a different type of being. Sarah and her team had worked for 6 straight hours to build what she called the Translation Experience Chamber. Elena stood watching as the final preparations were made. Cables and sensors ran everywhere, connecting human computers to HFY bioprocessors and celestial energy matrices. It looked like the inside of a mad scientist's laboratory. "Are you sure this will work?" Elena asked Sarah for the 10th time. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead. "Honestly? I have no idea. We are trying to do something that has never been done before. We are going to let 3 completely different types of consciousness share experiences. And if it goes wrong, best case scenario, nothing happens and we wasted 6 hours. Worst case scenario," Sarah paused, "we might accidentally create a 3-way telepathic link that drives everyone insane." Elena was not reassured. "Maybe we should test it first, with what volunteers?" Sarah asked. "Captain, we have exactly 4 hours before the fleet starts shooting. This is our only chance." The cargo bay doors opened and 3 figures entered. General Clack moved with the quick, precise motions of a predator insect. His black carapace reflected the lights like polished metal. Admiral Zephyron floated in his containment suit, his energy form shifting between different colors. Captain Santos walked beside them, looking small and fragile compared to the others. Each commander had brought guards, but Elena had insisted that only the 3 leaders could participate in the first test. If this went wrong, she did not want to risk more lives than necessary. "This is your great solution?" General Clack examined the chambers with his compound eyes. "It looks like a torture device." "I must agree with the insect," Admiral Zephyron said, his voice echoing strangely from his suit. "This crude matter-based construction appears incapable of containing higher dimensional consciousness." Captain Santos stepped closer to examine the human-designed chamber. "Sarah, explain to me again how this is supposed to work." Sarah activated a holographic display showing the 3 species' different neural patterns. "Each of your species experiences reality in completely different ways. Humans have individual consciousness but can also empathize with others. The HFY share a collective consciousness across their entire species. The Celestials exist as pure energy and experience time and space very differently from matter-based beings." She highlighted different parts of the display. "What we have created is a translation matrix that can convert experiences from one type of consciousness to another. General Clackett, you will be able to experience what it feels like to be an individual, cut off from the hive mind. Admiral Zephyron, you will feel what it is like to have a physical body made of matter. Captain Santos, you will experience both collective consciousness and energy-based existence." General Clack's mandibles clicked nervously. "To be cut off from the swarm, that is like death to us." "It will only be temporary," Sarah assured him. "The experience will last for exactly 1 hour. You will be completely safe." Admiral Zephyron's light pattern shifted to a deep blue color that Elena had learned meant uncertainty. to be trapped in crude matter. This seems unwise. All three of you will experience something completely alien to your nature, Elena said. But you will also understand your enemies in a way that has never been possible before. Maybe you will discover that they are not really enemies at all. The three commanders looked at each other. 200 years of war and hatred stood between them. Millions of dead on all sides. Entire worlds turned to ash and radiation. If I do this, General Clack said slowly, and I discover that my people have been wrong about the war, how do I explain that to the swarm? How do I tell 1 billion Kethvar that everything we believed was false? If I participate, Admiral Zephyran added, and learn that matter-based existence has value, how do I convince my people to stop trying to elevate the galaxy? Captain Santos looked at both of them. If this works and we find out the war was all based on misunderstandings, how do we explain to the families of the dead that their loved ones died for nothing? Elena felt the weight of the moment. These three beings were about to risk everything, their sanity, their beliefs, their entire way of understanding the universe, on the hope that peace was possible. You do not have to explain anything to anyone, Elena said quietly. You just have to decide if understanding is worth the risk. General Clack was the first to move. He walked to the biochamber designed for Kethvar physiology and examined the organic interfaces. The swarm has been at war for so long we have forgotten what peace feels like. Perhaps it is time to remember. Admiral Zephyron floated to his chamber, where energy field generators would contain his consciousness while allowing interaction with the translation matrix. Knowledge is the highest virtue among my people. Even dangerous knowledge. Captain Santos stepped toward her chamber, then turned back to Elena. If this kills us, make sure our people know we tried to end the war. Elena nodded. I will, but you are not going to die. You are going to understand. The three commanders entered their chambers. Sarah and her team activated the translation matrix. Holographic displays showed the neural patterns of all three species beginning to synchronize. Translation matrix at 30%, Sarah announced. All participants are stable. On the displays, Elena could see the three different types of consciousness beginning to merge. The Kethvar collective pattern started to separate into individual streams. The celestial energy began to take on the structure of matter-based thought. The human patterns expanded to touch both extremes, 50%. Admiral Zephyrin, how do you feel? Admiral Zephyrin's voice came through the speakers, but it sounded different, more solid somehow. I feel heavy. Is this what matter-based existence is like? So slow, so limited, but also, his voice filled with wonder, so beautiful. Each moment is unique and precious because it cannot last forever. General Clack, report. The Kethvar commander's voice was shaky. I am alone. Completely alone. I cannot feel the swarm, cannot hear their thoughts. This is terrifying, a pause. But also, liberating. My thoughts are my own. I can choose what to think, what to feel. Is this how individuals live? Captain Santos. I can feel them both. General Clack's fear and Admiral Zephyrin's wonder. But more than that, I can feel the collective consciousness of the Kethvar. Millions of minds working together, caring for each other, and the celestial way of seeing. Time and space flowing like music. It is incredible. 75%. Deeper integration beginning. Elena watched the displays as something unprecedented happened. The three consciousness types were not just translating experiences, they were sharing them, creating something new. I understand now, General Clacketh said, his voice filled with amazement. The Celestials are not trying to destroy matter. They are trying to free it from the limitations of physical form. They think they are helping. And the Kethvar are not trying to conquer, Admiral Zephyron added. They are trying to survive. Their collective consciousness requires certain resources. When they expand, it is not aggression, it is desperation. The coalition is not weak, Captain Santos said. They are incredibly strong. To maintain individual identity while working together, to survive as refugees while helping each other. That takes a kind of courage neither empire understands. Elena felt tears running down her cheeks. For the first time in 2 centuries, representatives of the three powers truly understood each other. 100% integration, Sarah announced. Perfect translation achieved. For exactly 1 minute, the three commanders experienced complete understanding. They felt what their enemies felt, saw through their eyes, understood their fears and hopes and dreams. Then Sarah began the slow process of separation. The three consciousness types gradually pulled apart, returning to their original forms. When the chambers opened, three very different beings emerged. But the look in their eyes, understanding, compassion, even the beginning of friendship, was the same. General Klacht spoke first. "We have been such fools, all of us." Admiral Zephyron's light patterns had shifted to a warm golden color that Elena had never seen before. The war was based on ignorance. We feared what we did not understand. Captain Santos looked at both of them with tears in her eyes. 200 years of death and destruction because we could not talk to each other properly. Elena stepped forward. "Now you know the truth about each other, but we still need to find out who destroyed the peace ship and why they wanted to keep you fighting." The three commanders looked at each other with their new understanding. General Klacht's mandibles clicked in what Elena now recognized as determination. "The swarm will want to know what I have learned. Some will resist, but others will understand. My people value knowledge above all else," Admiral Zephyron said. "When they experience what I have experienced, they will see the error in our ways." "The Coalition has always wanted peace," Captain Santos added. "This gives us hope that peace is actually possible." Sarah stepped forward. "Commander." The conference room on the Harmony had never seen anything like this before. General Klacht sat at the table, his massive insectoid form carefully positioned so his sharp limbs would not scratch the furniture. Admiral Zephyron floated in his containment suit beside him, light patterns flowing in calm waves. Captain Santos sat across from them, still looking amazed that they were all working together. Elena watched from the head of the table as Sarah presented their findings on the main display. 3 days ago, these beings had been ready to destroy each other. Now they were sharing information like old friends. "The consciousness translation technology we detected is definitely more advanced than anything we have," Sarah explained. "But it is built on the same principles. Someone has been studying all three of your species' technologies for a very long time." Admiral Zephyron's light patterns shifted to a thoughtful purple. How long would such research take? Dr. Kriegtal, who had joined the meeting as the Kethvar expert, clicked her mandibles. To understand biotechnology well enough to weaponize it would require decades of study. The swarm does not share such knowledge easily. The same with our reality manipulation techniques, Admiral Zephyron added. Only the highest levels of the Federation have access to dimensional science. Captain Santos leaned forward. "What about coalition technology? We are not as advanced as either empire, but we do have something they do not." "What is that?" Elena asked. "Diversity. The coalition includes hundreds of different species, each with their own technologies and abilities. Someone with access to all of that knowledge could learn things that no single species could discover alone." Sarah brought up a new display showing star charts. "That gives us a place to start looking. I tracked the Golden Fortune's movements over the past 5 years. It has visited coalition space frequently, but it has also been to Kethvar and Celestial territories." General Klacht studied the chart with his compound eyes. "Those locations, they include several of our most secure research facilities, and 3 of our dimensional laboratories," Admiral Zephyron observed. "But how did they gain access? Both empires have strict security protocols." Elena felt pieces of the puzzle clicking together in her mind. What if they did not break in? What if they were invited? The 3 commanders turned to stare at her. "Invited by whom?" Captain Santos asked. "Think about it," Elena said. "For 200 years you have been fighting each other. But someone has been profiting from that war. Someone who benefits when the galaxy's 3 most powerful civilizations are too busy fighting to notice what is happening in the shadows." Sarah's fingers flew over her keyboard. If someone has been using advanced consciousness translation technology as a weapon, they would need massive computing power and energy sources. Let me cross-reference the Golden Fortune's visits with reports of unusual energy readings. The display showed a new pattern emerging. Every location the mysterious ship had visited showed signs of large-scale energy harvesting operations. "They have been stealing energy from all 3 civilizations," Admiral Zephyron said, his voice filled with shocked understanding. "While we fought each other, someone has been draining our power sources." General Klacht's mandibles clicked with growing anger. The swarm reported several incidents of bioship energy loss over the years. "We blamed it on celestial attacks, and we detected reality distortions near our dimensional generators," Admiral Zephyron added. "We assumed the coalition was trying to copy our technology." Captain Santos shook her head. The coalition blamed both empires when our power stations started failing. We thought you were sabotaging us to make us weaker. Elena stood up and began pacing. Do you see what happened? Someone has been playing all three of you against each other. Every time something went wrong, you blamed each other instead of looking for the real cause. Sarah highlighted a new section of data. There is more. The consciousness translation technology they used to destroy the peace ship. It was not just meant to start a battle. It was designed to make sure the three civilizations would destroy each other completely. What do you mean? General Clack asked. The weapon was programmed to make each species experience their worst fears about the others. The Cathvar would see individualistic chaos threatening the swarm. The Celestials would see crude matter trying to drag them down. The Coalition would see powerful enemies trying to destroy them for sport. Admiral Zephron's light patterns turned deep red with anger. We were being manipulated, made to feel exactly what would make us most afraid and angry. Elena stopped pacing and looked at the three commanders. There is something else we need to consider. If someone has been harvesting energy from all three civilizations for years, they now have access to incredible power. Biotechnology, reality manipulation, and hundreds of different coalition innovations. Power for what purpose? Captain Santos asked. Sarah brought up one final display. I think I know. Look at this energy signature pattern. It matches something we found in the historical databases. The display showed an energy pattern that pulsed with familiar rhythms. Elena recognized it immediately, and from the reactions around the table, so did everyone else. Consciousness translation, General Clack said. But on a massive scale. Big enough to affect entire populations, Admiral Zephron observed. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. They are not just trying to manipulate three species anymore. They are planning to control everyone in the galaxy. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Someone had spent decades learning the deepest secrets of the three most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They had used that knowledge to keep those civilizations fighting each other, while they harvested unimaginable amounts of power. And now they were ready to use that power to control the thoughts and emotions of every thinking being in the galaxy. We have to stop them, Captain Santos said. But how? We do not even know who they are. Sarah looked up from her computer. Actually, I think we do. The energy signatures include biomarkers that identify the species of whoever is using the technology. And the pattern is interesting. What do you mean? Helena asked. The consciousness controlling all of this is not from any single species. It is a hybrid. Part Kethavar collective intelligence, part celestial energy being, part coalition diversity, and part human empathy and adaptability. The three commanders stared at Sarah in shock. Admiral Zephron spoke first. That is impossible. No being can combine the consciousness types of multiple species. Unless, General Clack said slowly, they use the same technology we just experienced, but permanently. Elena felt the pieces falling into place. Someone has been using consciousness translation technology to combine the best abilities of multiple species. They have made themselves into the perfect being. Collective intelligence, energy manipulation, technological diversity, and human adaptability. But who? Captain Santos asked. Who would have access to all three civilizations and the knowledge to do this? Sarah hesitated before answering. The biomarkers include human genetic patterns. Specifically, patterns that match the crew of a human exploration ship that disappeared 50 years ago near the Galactic Rim. Elena felt her blood turn cold. The UES Prometheus. They were on a diplomatic mission to make first contact with new species beyond Coalition space. The ship vanished without a trace. What if they did not vanish? Sarah asked quietly. What if they found something out there? Or something found them? The display showed the last known location of the Prometheus, a region of space beyond the rim of the galaxy where no one had ever explored. A place where ancient technologies might still exist from civilizations that had risen and fallen long before any current species had achieved spaceflight. We have to go there, Elena said. We have to find out what happened to the Prometheus and stop whoever is using their knowledge to manipulate the galaxy. General Clack stood up, his massive form towering over the table. The swarm will provide ships and warriors. Admiral Zephron's light patterns blazed with determination. The Federation's most advanced vessels will join you. Captain Santos nodded. The Coalition will contribute everything we have. Elena looked around the table at the three species that had been enemies just days before. Are you sure? This mission could be dangerous. We might be flying into a trap. Captain, General Clack said, you have shown us that our enemies were not enemies at all. You have given us back the possibility of peace. The swarm owes you a debt that can never be repaid. You have demonstrated that matter and energy can work together in harmony. Admiral Zephyrin added, the Federation will follow you into the unknown. Captain Santos smiled. The Coalition has always believed in hope even when hope seemed impossible. You have made hope real again. Elena felt a warmth spread through her chest. 3 civilizations that had spent 2 centuries trying to destroy each other were now ready to work together to face a threat that none of them could handle, alone. Then we prepare for a journey beyond the rim, Elena said, to find the truth about the Prometheus and stop whoever is trying to control the galaxy. But even as she spoke, Elena knew they were running out of time. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the stars looked angry tonight. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, watching the red glow of distant explosions paint the darkness. For 200 years, the galaxy had been at war. 3 great powers fought each other across 1,000 worlds, and no one remembered exactly why anymore. The Kethvar Empire controlled the northern spiral arm of the galaxy. They were insect-like beings with hard shells and compound eyes that saw in colors humans could not imagine. Their ships looked like giant beetles made of living metal. The Kethvar thought as one mind, sharing thoughts across their entire species. When one suffered, they all felt pain. When one died in battle, 1,000,000 others felt the loss. In the galactic core, the Celestial Federation ruled over the oldest and richest worlds. These beings were made of pure energy, glowing and shifting like living stars. They could bend reality with their thoughts, turning matter into energy and back again. To them, physical things like rocks and metal were crude and ugly. They wanted to transform everything into pure light and thought. The outer rim belonged to the Terran Coalition, but they were not really rulers. They were refugees. Hundreds of different species had fled the war and gathered in the empty spaces between stars. Some looked like humans, others like plants or crystals or living gas clouds. They had only one thing in common: they wanted to survive. Elena rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the data screens around her. The Harmony was not like other warships. It had no plasma cannons or gravity bombs, no reality warpers or bioweapons. Instead, it carried the largest library in the galaxy. Its computers held the languages, customs, and histories of every known species. Its crew included linguists, anthropologists, and cultural experts from dozens of worlds. Other captains laughed at the Harmony. They called it a floating library or a peace-loving fool's dream. But Elena knew something they did not. In all her years traveling the galaxy, she had learned that most fights started because people did not understand each other. Captain called Dr. Sarah Chen from her station. Sarah was the ship's head linguist, a small woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. She could speak 300 languages and understand twice as many. We are receiving distress signals from the Kepler Nebula. Multiple fleets are gathering there. Elena walked over to Sarah's station. The screen showed 3 distinct fleet formations moving toward each other like angry storms. The Kethvar bioships pulsed with organic light. The Celestial Federation's crystal vessels gleamed with inner fire. The Coalition's mixed fleet looked like a collection of spare parts held together by hope and determination. What are they fighting about this time? Elena asked. Sarah's fingers danced over her console, translating the flood of communications. Her face grew pale as she read. It is bad, Captain. Really bad. There was supposed to be a peace meeting. All 3 sides sent their top diplomats to talk about ending the war. That sounds good. What went wrong? The meeting ship exploded. Everyone thinks the other sides did it on purpose. The Kethvar say the Celestials used their reality powers to destroy the ship. The Celestials say the Coalition planted a bomb. The Coalition says the Kethvar sent a suicide bioship. Elena felt her stomach drop. Peace talks were rare in this war. When they happened, they usually failed. But at least people tried to talk instead of shoot. If someone had attacked a peace meeting, it would make the war much worse. Captain, said Lieutenant Rodriguez from the tactical station, long-range sensors show massive energy readings. All 3 fleets are charging their weapons. This is not going to be a small battle. Elena looked at the tactical display. Each fleet had enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. If they fought here in the Kepler Nebula, the explosion would be visible from half the galaxy. Worse, the nebula was close to several civilian worlds. Millions of innocent people would die from the radiation alone. "Commander Torres," Elena called to her first officer. "How long until we reach the nebula?" 6 hours at maximum speed, Captain." Elena made her decision. "Set course for the Kepler Nebula. Maximum speed." The bridge crew turned to stare at her. Commander Torres stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Captain, with respect, we cannot fight 3 fleets. The Harmony is a research vessel, not a battleship." "Who said anything about fighting?" Elena smiled, but it was a sad smile. "We are going to do what we do best. We are going to try to understand what is happening." The next 6 hours passed quickly. The crew prepared for what might be their last mission. The Harmony was fast, but it was not built for war. It had shields, but they were meant to protect against asteroids and radiation, not military weapons. It had weapons too, but only small ones for defending against pirates. As they approached the nebula, the 3 fleets came into view. Elena had never seen so many warships in one place. The Kethvar fleet moved like a swarm of angry insects, their bioships pulsing with battle rage. The celestial ships hung in space like frozen stars, beautiful and terrible. The coalition fleet spread out in a defensive formation, ready to sell their lives dearly. "Captain," Sarah said, "I am picking up communications from all 3 fleets. They are demanding we choose a side. The Kethvar want us to join them against the energy parasites and terrorist refugees. The Celestials want us to help them cleanse the galaxy of inferior matter. The coalition is begging us to help them survive against both empires." Elena looked at the tactical display. In a few hours, maybe less, the 3 fleets would start shooting. When they did, it would be the biggest battle in galactic history. The winners, if there were any, would rule a galaxy of dead worlds. "Open a channel to all 3 fleets," Elena ordered. "Captain," Commander Torres said urgently, "what are you going to tell them? If we choose wrong, they will all attack us." "I am not going to choose," Elena said. "I am going to do something else entirely." The communication screen lit up, showing the faces of 3 very different commanders. General Clackth of the Kethvar looked like a praying mantis made of steel. His compound eyes reflected the light like broken mirrors. Admiral Zephyron of the Celestials appeared as a shifting pattern of light and energy, beautiful but impossible to look at directly. Captain Maria Santos of the Coalition looked tired and scared but determined. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UES Harmony," Elena said. "I have a proposal for all of you. Choose your allies quickly, human." General Clackth clicked in his mechanical voice. "The swarm grows impatient. There can be no allies among the crude matterbound." Admiral Zephyron's voice sounded like singing crystals. "Join us in transcendence or be cleansed with the rest." "Elena," Captain Santos said, using the informal name because they had met before. "Please help us. They are going to destroy everything." "I will help," Elena said, "but not the way you think. I propose that instead of fighting, you all talk to each other." The 3 commanders stared at her in amazement. General Clackth's mandibles clicked with what might have been laughter. Admiral Zephyron's light patterns swirled with confusion. Captain Santos looked hopeful but doubtful. "Talk?" General Clackth said. "The time for talk ended when they murdered our diplomats." "We did not murder anyone," Admiral Zephyron replied. "Your accusations prove how limited matterbound thinking truly is." "You are both insane," Captain Santos snapped. The coalition had nothing to gain from destroying that peace meeting. Elena held up her hand. "Stop, please, this is exactly what I mean. You are all talking, but none of you are listening. What if the meeting ship was not destroyed by any of you? What if it was an accident or sabotage by someone who wanted to keep this war going?" The 3 commanders fell silent. Elena could see them thinking. After 200 years of war, the idea that someone else might be responsible was hard to accept. "Give me 72 hours, Elena said. "Let my crew investigate what really happened to that peace meeting. If we cannot find the truth, you can go back to killing each other. But if we can prove who really destroyed the ship, will you at least listen to what we find?" The 3 fleets hung in space, weapons charged, ready to begin the final battle of a 2-century war. 3 commanders looked at a human captain who had just put her small ship between the largest military forces in the galaxy. After what felt like forever, General Clackth spoke. 72 hours. But if you try to trick us, human, the swarm will take your ship apart molecule by molecule. Admiral Zephron's light patterns shifted. We will wait. But only because your proposal has novelty. Captain Santos nodded. 72 hours. But Elena, if this does not work, the coalition will not surrender. We will fight to the last ship. Elena smiled. Understood. Harmony out. The communication screen went dark. The bridge crew looked at their captain as if she had lost her mind. Captain, Commander Torres said quietly. What have you done? Elena looked out at the 3 fleets surrounding them. I have bought us 3 days to save the galaxy. Now let us get to work.